guys, my name is Nilasha and this is my first YouTube video. I'll be talking about my art portfolio that I had used to submit to 5 different colleges, and the colleges that I had applied to were SAIC, Parsons, SVA, OTIS and Emily Carr. So basically I got accepted from 4 of the colleges with a 30k plus scholarship from SAIC, but I got waitlisted from Parsons. At the very beginning, I was contemplating between SAIC and Emily Carr, but gradually, when I was done with my application, I realized that I did not want to go to the US. So, right now, I am a second year student at Emily Carr, majoring in visual arts. Anyways, I'll get straight into the video. I did not take the SATs or any AP classes, but I did give an IELTS exam where I scored a 7, I guess. Moving on to the application process, you basically submit your portfolio on this site called Slideroom, where you put up about 10 to 15 of your artworks. And I don't really remember if it was compulsory, but I did submit a write-up for all of my artworks. So getting right into it, I'll be showing you about 10 of my artworks that I had put up, and I'll be starting with few of my best works. I'm not really sure about the ones in the middle, and towards the end I progressively get better, I feel, but I'm proud of all the works that I've put up so far. Also, just to mention, if you are applying to Parsons, you have to do the Parsons challenge as well. I had to make something which was related to an existing piece in my portfolio, and I made it the very last day before the application was due, so it turned out awful. And I pretty much did my application for all my colleges the very last moment, and I would highly suggest not doing that because it's nerve-wracking and it gets really overwhelming. Anyways, getting right into it, my first piece is Millennial Toxicity. So this is a piece that I made during the summer program at Parsons, which actually happened online over the pandemic. So it's basically an image that I sort of visualize inside this convex mirror, and my inspiration was how in today's social media driven world, body shaming is sort of promoted under the pretense of healthy eating. It's sort of like a personal issue that I feel like I was going through back then. I really wanted to put it across through my art, and I feel like I did a pretty fine job at doing it, and therefore I love this artwork and I had to put it as like my first piece. It's done with graphite pens, and it took me about, I pulled an all-nighter for this one, and yeah, I had a blast. So my next piece is Dreaming of Life Beyond. I had made this piece over the pandemic as well, and it's basically a literal representation of what was happening inside my head. I was visualizing this surreal trip to Mars, and I sort of wanted to like put it down on paper. And if you've watched Rick and Morty, you can see that I've incorporated elements from that show as well. I was really inspired by it, and I really think it's a very close piece to me because I feel very close to the idea of the surreal world that I want to go to. And the medium that I used for this was watercolors and acrylic paint. So the next one is Entangled Deep Within. I feel like this is one of the most thought-provoking pieces that I've made so far, and I made it during the summer program at Parsons as well. And my idea was that when you look at this piece, the first thought that comes up to your mind is like either fear of spiders, or if you look deeper into it, it's like how you're being perceived by other people. But my main concept was perception, but it's more about how you perceive yourself. And it was about how you're constantly seeking validation from yourself, but it wasn't in a very positive way. And at that point, I realized that my artwork would get really deep and dark, and I would try to come out of it. That's why I think having the Mars piece right in between was a good choice. So the next piece is Beauty Unfolded, and as I had mentioned, most of my pieces were done during the pandemic, and I had actually made this for an art competition. I participated in numerous art competitions, and those were actually very helpful because I ended up using most of it in my portfolio. So basically this piece is about Mother Earth, and I love having to talk about nature. I am not very fond of it because I don't like I love the idea behind it, how I've sort of made this composition with Mother Earth, solar system, and like sort of manifested nature into like these complex forms. But at the same time, there is something about it that doesn't sit right with me for some reason. It might be the color palette, or I definitely has to do with the color palette. Otherwise, I think the piece is really cool, and overall I feel it really complements the other artworks that I have in my portfolio. Therefore, I thought of keeping it, and the medium that I used for it was acrylic paint. The next one is art of illumination. I had done this during the summer program as well, and this was my first time using charcoal. I have had charcoal sticks with me, but I never felt like I was ready to sort of make something with it. But I feel like I did a decent job at capturing value, and that's pretty much what I was aiming for and what the assignment was. And I feel like, again, this piece doesn't have any meaning to it, but it's just that it showed a very technical side of my art style. And again, it diversified my portfolio as I could show them that I could tackle different art mediums. So the next one is memories. It's a portrait of one of my closest friends that I grew up with, and I used the sibling method to make this portrait. So I grew up in a boarding school, and it was actually before the pandemic had hit that I had clicked like few pictures of my friend. And once I was back home and the lockdown had hit, I really missed being around my friends, and I thought that it would be a really cool idea to sort of like dot down my memories. So I used like color pens and pencils to sort of make this portrait, and I love the color palette, and I love how it expands my portfolio. And then the next one is just a bunch of figure drawings that I had made, again because I had researched a lot, and I realized that it is good if you sort of have figure drawings in your portfolio. It just shows that you can do human anatomy, and I enjoyed working with this. Unfiltered is my next painting. Again, I had done this for a competition, but I don't have words to explain how much I love this painting. Not only because it's a self-portrait, but I love how it captures something so basic in my life. As in, I wanted to put across how I get up every single day, and just like the first thing that I start my day is like literally at times I click a mirror selfie or I click a selfie, but mostly I look at myself in the mirror, I brush my teeth. It's a very close piece to my heart. My mom has displayed it in our living room, and everyone who comes home, they're like, "Oh, isn't this your younger daughter?" And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I love this painting, and I had done this with acrylic. So Epitome of Femininity is a painting which I had done on a plywood. It's about 2 by 2 feet, it's massive, and I had used acrylic paint, crystals, and sort of like pearls and stickers to make this painting. It took me about a week to complete it. My idea was that as a person who's very deeply rooted to like her culture, and like I come from a family who is very religious, I really wanted to sort of have one of my artworks that talked about it. So in this piece, it's basically a representation of Ma Durga. Ma Durga is a goddess in our religion, worshipped by many Hindus, and she's considered as the goddess of feminine power and wisdom. Also very mindful of the color palette that I had used in my painting, and I wanted to make sure that my piece is very cohesive. The next one is a medley of emotions. So this was one of the first sculpture pieces that I made, and I made it primarily for my portfolio. And I used POP clay to make this, and I had a blast making it. I was so apprehensive at first if this is going to work out or not, but I really wanted to go beyond just something two-dimensional. So basically my idea was that each color is a representation of the different emotions we as humans can feel. It also tried to put across how, although every individual is different, we still manage to coexist with each other. And that sort of came together with the photograph rather than my sculptures individually. I mean, I came up with the idea
right after I was done making them.
And I think that is what art is like a lot of the times. Like you're just making it and you feel like, oh wait, this is where it's going. I made the sculptures and I was like, oh, this is a really good representation of how my emotions come across. But when I photographed it, it came through in a very different way, and I love having that together. And yeah, that was it. So this was my portfolio. If you have any questions about my degree, how I'm doing at Emily Carr, or even further questions on the portfolio, I'm more than happy to help you out in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and hope you subscribe and like.
Oh my god, that was